Guys, we're getting ready to get started on the next pair of vehicles that we're going to be building for the Thunderbird build. This is the radio transmitter truck and the fire truck, and each one is represented in their respective color. The radio transmitter truck will be the blue one, and the fire truck will be the red one. We're going to be doing all of our detail painting and assembly and everything right here, and you guys can follow along just like the other two vehicles. So why don't we get started and just start cutting these little parts out and getting them ready for paint. Okay, first thing we noted when we're putting together the main body of the radio transmitter truck, there are no real locating pins anywhere on here. It's just kind of a friction fit of the lower body into the upper body. And you just kind of have to make sure that it lays in straight. The front will fall of the chassis will fall into the body, and that's going to align the rear of it. So that if you can see, there's a little ridge right on the inside of the body. And the lower part of the chassis just kind of falls right into that, and that's going to be your alignment for the rest of the chassis. Now you still have to be careful when you're putting it together back here to make sure that you're even with the rest of the body. Gonna need a little bit of cleaning up. Got some nub marks here we have to get rid of, but first we're just gonna see how everything goes together. Okay, so we have our side pieces here. I'm just gonna see how this is going to fit. Okay. All right, so that's going to be our alignment mark for the side pieces. Okay, guys, I think I've got this figured out here. If you look at the back side of the side part of the body here, there is an alignment ridge there, which means that that is going to sit right here against the chassis there, against the body there. So this is pretty much, I'm gathering from what I'm seeing here, it's or is it supposed to sit underneath? Let's see. It's a little tricky, this piece here. I'm trying to figure out where this goes, and the instructions are not really clear on where that's supposed to fit. But it does sort of look like it's supposed to slot inside of there. Okay, I do believe, yeah, that's it right there. Okay, it's a little tricky, but if you're building this, let me see if I can show you guys right here. The ridge, there's a little ridge here, and that's where the ridge here is supposed to slot into. So if we line it up there, you notice that the rear corner kind of wraps around the end of the truck. You guys can see that. And that aligns our side piece perfectly here. So it's a little tricky, but I think we've got it. Now, the question will be will it be easier to glue these pieces together and then install our treads? Now, let's see what we got going on with the treads here. And it looks like the treads are going to fit right inside. We have 2 alignment pins for the treads that go into the slots here. And if we install them there, we're trying to see why we're not sitting flush. Well, one of the reasons is because we have a nub here that's not allowing us to sit flush. So let's get rid of that. And see if that helps us with our alignment of the piece. And there we go, but does it go this way or... Nope. All right, guys. Again, the instructions aren't super clear on this. There are 2 alignment pins here on the inside of the treads. Now, if you notice, the treads that are facing upward, the pins have to be facing upwards into the top of the vehicle in order to have the proper alignment and have the wheels with their proper spacing. If you put them toward the bottom of the tread, the wheels go way up too high into the body. You see, this spaces them. Let's see if we can get that in there. All right, that spaces them right to there. If you do it the other way, they go way up too high into the vehicle. So there is a left and a right, and you have to make sure that you have the proper orientation, otherwise the wheels will sit way too high up into the vehicle. All right, there we go. All right, we figured that out, and I'm sure that's why there's 2 different numbers here, which of course I didn't look at first because I was in such a hurry to get this thing going. Okay, which means that we can assemble our side pieces here to the truck and then just paint everything as we need to. But we're not going to do that because I'm still not sure exactly what I'm doing with the painting. Okay, guys, and here we have the first truck going together. We've already applied our gloss coat over our color coat, and now we're ready to start assembly. Done quite a bit of detail painting on it. We're going to do a little more weathering to it, but we're going to wait till we have it all together so that we weather it all evenly. So as you can see, it's a very simple assembly procedure. So we can get that in here. You guys can see exactly what's going to happen here. These side panels get glued here. Here you can see the silver railing, and all of a sudden, it looks like a big mass of blue. It's going to have all sorts of detail on it as we go along to break up all of this blue. Very happy with the way the blue coloring came out, as it's not a super bright blue, which gives it much more of a realistic tone. So let's start putting this thing together and see where we get. Should have made this the first step. As it seems that the tracks would have helped you with aligning these side panels. So guys, if you're going to do this kit, definitely lay the tracks in first. Okay guys, now we have the two completed vehicles here. We have the fire truck in red, we have the radio truck in blue. I'm just starting the chipping on them now, but I wanted to give you guys a close-up look and talk about the chipping effect. Here you can see the chipping that I've done on the radio truck, and here you can see the chipping that I've done on, sorry guys, got that mixed up. Chipping that's done on the radio truck in red, on the fire truck in red, and the radio truck in blue. Now, I'm much happier with the way the red one came out than the blue, as with the small scale of these vehicles, as you can see with the way the two of them fit in the palm of my hand, I used the incorrect brush when I was chipping this one, as the brush head was just a little bit too big and the chips came out a little too large, I think, and they look a little bit out of scale with the vehicle. Doesn't look horrible because it just looks like it's really been beat up a lot more than the other one. I did a little better job on this side. Now here I used a much smaller brush, or a much thinner brush, and that allowed me to make more chips that appear to be more in scale with the car. So while this one doesn't look horrible, and I did add a little bit of rust, a little bit of darkening of the metal there, just to make it look, add a little corrosion to it. So it doesn't look horrible. I do think that this one came out better. So depending on scale, brush size is very important, so that you can get the chips to be in scale with the vehicle. Now, I don't think the blue one came out too bad, so I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to strip this whole thing down and repaint it. It does still need a flat coat, but we're going to be installing the decals on them now. And you can see all the details and how the fire truck came out. I'm very happy with that. Still have to do some chipping on this side, but I'm going to put the decals on first, as I started chipping and just completely forgot about the decals. And we're going to have to do a little bit of damage to the decals also, just to make it all look like it's worn evenly. Now here you can see the major difference between the radio truck and the fire truck are just basically their attachments here. As the fire truck has this, it's water sprayer here, or fire retardant sprayer, or whatever they use to put out fires, and the radio truck has its big radio dish in the back. Otherwise, the two chassis are exactly the same, which kind of makes sense in the entire scheme of things. After all, why would they build two completely different trucks? Realistically, you're going to use the same truck for multiple roles. Now, the chipping effect is all done using Citadel Color Lead Belcher, as that gives a nice metallic color and really does help the chip stand out. I really like that paint. Alright, so now we're going to start with the decals. There are 4 decals, 2 for each truck. That's the International Rescue, which get applied to the sides of each truck. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. So let's get with some decaling. We're going to be using Microsol and Microset to help the decals sit down properly. So let's get on that and get these decals done. Alright guys, now we have our decals on. They went on pretty easily on the fire truck. Didn't have too much trouble. Of course, I did give them the time to set, as I did one side and the other on the fire truck. Fortunately, I got a little bit impatient with the radio truck, and this one, I kind of ruined it myself. Not the decals' fault. The decals are excellent quality. So you can see this side came out pretty good. But I was going a little too fast. I didn't give it enough time to set. And when I laid it on its side, as you saw, I kind of tore it up. So, you know what that's going to be? That's going to be wear and tear on the vehicle. As I'm not building them as pristine cars, as you can tell by all the chipping. And this is just going to mean that part of it got damaged there. I may put a little bit of flat white paint there to show remnants of the original signage there on the car, just to make it look a little more realistic, other than that thing being half torn off. So I don't really have a problem with this happening. Alright guys, so now I'm going to let this dry at least 24 hours before I go any further with it. And then I'm going to continue the chipping and the distressing of the International Rescue labels on the sides of the truck. And then a flat coat, and these two will be done. So now it's time to get, while we're waiting for that to dry, we're going to get started on the next vehicle. So guys, since there's not really much else to show, I'm sure you guys don't want to watch me just spray a clear flat coat on this. We're going to end the fire truck and radio truck portion of this build. And we'll be back next with the Firefly and the magnetic tow truck are going to be the next two vehicles that we're going to work on in this build. And hopefully I'll have a little more patience, as they also get decals, I think, or maybe not. But I will be a bit more patient with those than I was with this. But these are actually very, very cool. I mean, take a look at those. Once the flat coat is applied, they're going to look even better. Alright guys, that's it. I'm going to go and end this episode here. So tune in for the next one where we're going to work on the next two vehicles in this amazing, amazing kit. Alright guys, I will see you on the next one.